Imagine a building so vast, so audaciously ambitious, that the people who ordered it were called mad. That building exists. It stands today in the heart of Andalusia, and it is the largest Gothic cathedral on earth. When it was finished in the early 16th century, Seville Cathedral did something no Christian building had done in 1,000 years. It surpassed Hagia Sophia as the largest cathedral in the world, a title that legendary Byzantine church had held since antiquity. But long before a single Gothic stone was laid, this ground belonged to a different faith. In 1172, the Almohad Caliph Abu Yaqub Yusuf ordered a grand mosque built for the city. It was dedicated in 1182 and completed in 1198. The mosque's architect, Ahmad ben Basso, designed a vast rectangular structure, 113 meters by 135 meters, covering more than 15,000 square meters. Its prayer hall held 17 aisles, all oriented southward toward the Qibla wall. One quiet remnant of that mosque endures to this day. The ablutions courtyard, now called the Patio de los Naranjos, was preserved by the cathedral's builders. Its fountain still runs. Its orange trees still bear fruit. On 8th of July 1401, city leaders gathered and made a decision for the ages. They would tear down what remained and build something entirely new. The chapter reportedly declared they would build a church so beautiful and so grand that those who see it finished will take us for mad. Work began in 1402. It would continue for over a century, with construction finally completed in 1506 and 1507. To fund the effort, the clergy of the parish offered half their own stipends to pay for architects, artists, stained glass artisans, masons, and laborers. The project drew masters from across Europe. In 1434, a Dutch master named Isambur took charge. He was followed by a French master named Carlin from 1439 to 1454, and then by Juan Norman until 1472. This cathedral was built by many hands, many cultures, many generations. Stand inside and the numbers become physical. The Gothic section stretches 126 meters long and 76 meters wide. The central nave soars to a height of 36 meters. Seville Cathedral also holds the longest nave of any cathedral in Spain, with the central nave reaching 42 meters at its highest point. Construction was not without catastrophe. In 1511, the crossing lantern and some of the vaults collapsed, demanding immediate reconstruction. Architect Juan Gil de Ontañón, the elder, designed the current crossing lantern in 1513, its ornate lierne vaulting completed by 1519. Then came 1888. An earthquake brought the crossing down again, destroying every precious object beneath the dome at that time. The cathedral has been rebuilt, restored, and endured. Each disaster met with the same defiant ambition that built it. Towering above everything is the Giralda. From the ground to its weather vane, it rises 104.5 meters. Its square base measures 13 meters per side and sits 7 meters above sea level. It is impossible to ignore and impossible to forget. The Giralda began as a minaret, designed to resemble the minaret of the Kutubia Mosque in Marrakesh. According to the chronicler Ibn Sahib al-Salah, its construction was completed on 10th of March 1198. Crowned with 4 gilt bronze balls at the summit. Those bronze spheres vanished after a strong earthquake in 1365. In the 16th century, architect Hernán Ruiz the Younger added the belfry. And in 1568, the bronze statue called El Giraldillo was installed at the peak, a figure representing the triumph of the Christian faith. The cathedral presents 15 doors across its 4 facades. Each one tells its own story. The door of forgiveness belonged to the ancient mosque and still holds its horseshoe arch shape, adorned with terracotta sculptures by Miguel Perrin in the early 16th century. On the west facade, the door of baptism was built in the 15th century and decorated by the workshop of Lorenzo Mercadante of Brittany, with a scene depicting the baptism of Jesus. Beside it, the door of the Nativity, used today for Holy Week processions, carries terracotta figures of Saints Lorien and Hermengild and the 4 evangelists. Inside, the eye is drawn immediately to the enormous retable. It was designed in 1482 by Dutch artist Peter Dankar, who worked on it until his death in 1487, and still it was unfinished. The central section was complete by 1526. The side sections were not finished until between 1550 and 1594. Beyond the main space, the cathedral contains 80 chapels. In 1896, it was reported that 500 masses were said in those chapels daily. Within one of them, the Baptistry Chapel of St. Anthony, hangs a painting by Bartolomé Esteban Murillo, The Vision of St. Anthony, completed in 1656. That Murillo painting has its own dramatic history. In November 1874, thieves cut out the portion depicting St. Anthony. By January 1875, a Spanish immigrant attempted to sell the fragment to a New York City art gallery for $250. The fragment was recovered by gallery owner Herman Schaus, shipped back to Seville via Havana and Cadiz, and restored into the painting in 1875 by Salvador Martinez Cubels. Light filters through stained glass windows made after 1478 by Enrique Alemán, and filling the air when the organ speaks, twin instruments by Aquilino Amezua, built between 1901 and 1903 after the originals were destroyed in the 1888 earthquake. They were reworked by Gerhard Grenzing in 1996 and are now played from a single 4-manual console on the floor between them. For generations, Seville Cathedral attracted great musical minds. Francisco Guerrero served as choirmaster from 1574 until his death in 1599, having first served as assistant choirmaster from 1551. Alonso Lobo, once a choir boy here in the 1560s, returned in 1604 to take up the same post. The cathedral shaped careers across lifetimes. History's most famous explorer rests here too. Christopher Columbus and his son Diego Columbus are buried within these walls. The royal chapel holds the remains of Ferdinand III of Castile, his son Alfonso the Wise, and King Peter the Cruel. And within this same cathedral, in 1478, Infante Juan of Aragon, the only son of Ferdinand and Isabella, was baptized. In 1987, UNESCO recognized what centuries of visitors had already understood. Seville Cathedral was inscribed as a World Heritage Site, alongside the adjoining Alcazar Palace complex and the General Archive of the Indies. More than 6 centuries after those city leaders made their impossible declaration, the cathedral stands exactly as they intended, magnificent, overwhelming, and utterly defiant of reason. They were not mad. They were simply thinking in centuries.